Okay, preparation time is over. I call this house to order. I welcome you all to the judge test for the Spring JPDU Tournament 2013. The motion for this round is this house will pay teachers progressive salary according to the academic performance of their students. Now, without any further ado, I'd like to call upon the Prime Minister to open their case within 7 minutes. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hello, ladies and gentlemen in this house today. So, under the status quo, the Japanese students are not really having problem because teachers are not very motivated under the status quo, and we want to solve that problem, and so we are proposing this motion today. And so, let me first start with the definition. So, we've set this house as Japan because, as I told you, today we have the problem of students skills going down and going down, and we'll set this as compulsory education in public schools because the private schools are in many cases already doing these progressive salaries under the status quo, but the public schools are not, and there's the gap of academic performance. And the teachers will have this progressive salary will be the homeroom teachers who teach almost all the academic classes to their students. And we mean academic classes by math or the science and those kind of things, and not music or physical education, because music is to many extent subjective. It depends on which teacher they learn to. The criteria or the scoring depends on the teachers, and the physical education has cannot be growing because there is skeletal structure problems and so forth. But academic performance has clear line, the objective line, and so that is why we set this as academic performance, as math and science and those kind of subjects. And how we judge the academic performance would be by the exams at each end of the term, and we would judge those students' academic performance by how well they've done, the percentage of the test, and as well as how much they've achieved compared to the last exam they've done. They have been 50% in the last exam, but in this exam they have 80%, then this 30% is the achievement the students have earned, and by that the teachers will get paid. And that's the definition. Okay, let me move on to my argument. And so I would like to argue how the teachers would get the incentive to make students learn, and how that's good for the students in the future. And so let me explain. So under the status quo, as I've told you, teachers there are many teachers who do not have the incentive to make students learn. And why is that? That is because the public school teachers is a very, very steady job. Once you get into this job, you do not get fired. And there is no competition between to get promoted, because even if you try very, very hard, if you are under the age of the promotion, you do not get the promotion, right? If you aren't over 50, you are not going to be the principal of the school, and so forth. And so there's incentive of the teachers to make students learn is low. And because of that, the teachers are doing classes just reading the textbooks and textbooks, or just writing what is on the textbooks, on the blackboard, and so forth, which is not interesting for the students, and that is very, very problematic. And also, like, there is like diverse students in the class, right? Like the 30 students who have different academic skills. Later, please. And the teachers has to like look all of them, and so they have to do the class that is like in between the levels, and like so the top academic students would be bored, and the lower students would not be able to catch up. But because the teachers are not incentivized, they would not do like the catch-up class, and they would not provide difficult like materials for the top students. They are just doing the boring class. That's very, very problematic. Okay.
Actually, teacher's job is very hard. For example, teacher have to care of many kinds of students. Why such people become teacher? Why is it? What is the motivation?
Okay, as I told you, like steady job is very, very important for people, right? They're not getting fired is important, especially in the age of this depression and so forth. And even if they are motivated at the first time, they will not get motivated as they are like teaching, because there's no promotion and there's no award for their abilities. Like they would like steadily lose the pride, because even if they try hard and the students get the better score, there's no like they cannot see their the award, but as the money. And okay, let me move back. And so because the motive of the teachers are low, there is a vicious cycle the students not learning. But after the plan, that would change, because there is of course firstly competition between the teachers, who is going to get more like money and get like more like they can buy a car or something, and they like people loves money, right? And secondly, as I told you, they can get awards for their abilities, and so because of that, they do creative classes to get students interested and so forth, and that is very, very important for the students' learning, and that's so I propose. Thank you.
Yeah, thank the Prime Minister for her speech, and our next slide is called upon the Leader of Opposition to open the opposition case within 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, in this House day. So, Mr. Speaker, we should recognize about the gap of the superior student and inferior student, because the superior student have a maximum amount of talent in their brain or so forth. So teachers are already know about this point, where such kind of teachers will lose their incentive to teach about the inferior student, because of gap of talent, amount of talent exists. Well, that's why this plan will create a serious gap of academic level between the superior student and inferior student. So we beg to oppose this motion. Okay, first of all, I'd like to talk about two issues mainly. Firstly, how this proposal create a serious bias among the students to teachers, which teachers have incentive to teach. And in the status quo, how the equal education will provided to the class, entire class. Okay, before moving our statement, let me read the previous speaker. So, previous speaker said, if they, under the status quo, because of no existence of competition between the teachers and teachers, such teachers have less incentive to care about care about their quality of class or solvers. But this is not true in the first place, because most of teachers feel pleasure about improving their students' academic skill or solvers. So please imagine, so such kind of teachers how we already know about how hard their job is it. Well, just because of this such kind of teachers became the teachers with high ideal situation with their ideal situation in their mind. Well, such kind of people will take care of such the inferior student or solvers. Well, this is not so much problematic in the first place. Okay. And secondly, after production, teachers will be more and more incentivized to teach about the entire class, but this is not true. So I'd like to explain this point in my argument, how gap of charity exists. Okay. Moving on our issue. Firstly, after production, I'd like to explain how this proposal creates a series of bias among the teachers. So after production, we believe that teachers will be more likely to concentrate or improve the superior student more and more. Because why is that? Because simply the teachers usually take care about the efficiency of their way to teach. For example, in the most cases, the inferior student inferior student is not so much good at the find way to study or improve their academic skill. So, on the contrary, the superior student already know how to improve their academic skill and what's an effective way to improve their academic skill or solvers. Well, teachers already know about this point, and also teachers have strong incentive to improve the average level of the academic skill, because so after production, the teachers will choose more effective way to improve their class. So they concentrate on teachers to superior students and improve their academic skill, because the superior students have a good talent to improve or efficiency to improve their skill. So if the extreme such the superior student good at study, the average of academic level will significantly increase. Well, as a consequence, their inferior class student cannot gather benefit, cannot be provided by care from the teachers, and feel more difficulties to improve their skill to catch up their class or solvers. So teachers, as a consequence, such their gap of academic skill will expand. So this is so much serious. But at the status quo, how is so much serious? How much beneficial? Because Mr. Speaker, the teachers already know the students are good at study, and students can improve that going to class skill or voluntary studying or solvers. Well, teachers have more incentive to care about the inferior student. So, because the society or the school board evaluate the entire situation of class. Well, if there are many inferior students existing in class, they will be pointed out by parents about it, or criticized by school board solvers. Well, teachers have more incentive to take care of the inferior children. Well, so why is this so much important, Mr. Speaker? Because the teachers cannot choose class they have. So if teachers have their class whose children is so much inferior or solvers, they will be automatically decrease their income source. Well, that's why we say teachers have no responsibility about their have a responsibility to decrease their income depending on their academic skill of children. So in order to prevent such kind of situation, we beg to oppose. Thank you.
Yeah, thank the Leader of Opposition for his speech. And next I'd like to call upon the Deputy Prime Minister to continue their case within 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hello, ladies and gentlemen. So in the status quo, there is no tangible criteria of how to measure the teacher's skill. So that's why, compared to the company, there is a tangible actual criteria that you can measure their ability based on how much money or how many transactions you can actually get. Such kind of tangible benefit exists. That's why they have a clear incentive to improve themselves, to try to have a better idea how to make their jobs better. So in the status quo, there is a monotonous curriculum that exists in the educational field. There is monotonous material, the homework or a curriculum existing. Every year, the students and teachers have to teach in the same way, and the same kind of textbook they are using. So that's why there's no incentive. There is no incentive to make a change or to better education itself. So we believe that compared to such other public official jobs like diplomacy or military soldiers or administration, those things are always face a new things, new fresh something new. So that's why they can actually feel that they're doing something new. They're just trying to make some change. However, in this educational field, that they always have to handle the same kind of situation, same kind of students, same kind of curriculum. That's why there is no incentive for teachers to change. No, thank you. So, firstly, I'd like to rebuttal to the point of what previous speaker said. So he misunderstand our motion, our definition. That she clearly mentioned that in her definition that as how much scores, how much academic performance are improved are going to be the criteria of this motion, right? They're not talking about inferior students are going to be marginalized. They're not going to get a good education by the teacher. Teachers have no incentive to teach inferior students. But however, inferior students, their performance is also going to be reflected in the performance, which means that the teachers also have the great incentive to teach them and then make them more intelligent. Moreover, we say that in terms of inferior students have more capacity to improve their scores compared to superior students, right? Superior students have just like, they always get 80 scores, 90 scores, compared to the inferior students, they just always getting 50 or 60 scores. In that case, if they get 80 or 90 scores, they have more academic performance improvement, are going to be more effective, more efficiently. So that's why the teachers have more incentive to give them a better teaching, right? So that's why in the status quo, they're talking about status quo, right? The teachers have no incentive to change the situation about the inferior student. That's why inferior students are marginalized, that they cannot get a better education in the class, because that they always because there is no incentive for teachers to teach in a better way. So moving on to my arguments. So first, I'd like to talk about why it is academic performance, why the uniqueness of academic performance in the first place. The math or English or science or history, those kind of things are fundamentally important. And then, of course, there is a textbook, and then there is in the exam there is a question and answer, such fixed answer existing. So that's why there is a clear criteria. However, in terms of art, or music, or physical education, or moral education, or ethic education, those kind of things are very subjective, that the teacher cannot evaluate what you are feeling, what you are actually, what kind of value you have about the art or music or physical education. Those kind of things are completely different from person to person. We think that we should not impose certain value on each student. That's why in terms of math or English, science, or history, those kind of things are already fixed. In terms, to some extent, we already have same category and same curriculum. So that's why we can measure the person's ability. We think it is very justifiable. So moreover, then is talking about if the bullying happens or other homeroom or how to manage the classroom itself is also important for teachers' ability. But we think if they do such, if they neglect their jobs after taking this plan, the PTA or parents are also criticize them, as he said in the last speech. And then, of course, the PTA or parents, or those things are checking and overseeing what the teachers are doing. So that's why the students also going back home, and then they talk about what kind of character or personality of the teacher is. That's why we think that there is a check and balance system, that PTA or those parents are actually playing also important role, that if such teachers neglect their jobs about other field rather than academic performance, we think that such kind of negligence doesn't occur. So now I'd like to take your point.
Okay. So you say physical is very ambiguous. However, actually, we have measure of points of time or height or something.
Thank you. So we think that physical condition or physical, is something inherent, right? Something inherently attached to. No, thank you. So we have something, this kind of ability since we are born, and we cannot change. Even the teacher try to make your time more faster and faster. We think this is not actually the clear criteria on the educational basis. So next, lastly, I'd like to talk about the reinforcing her argument about the status quo, what kind of problem we have in the status quo. We think that there is a hierarchical system that, as she said, that the teachers have no incentive or no opportunity to get the reward about what they've actually done, what they actually progress. Even their students improve, their students' ability improve, there is no space, there is no opportunity for teachers to improve their social position. Because there is about 50 years old you can be principal, about 40 years old you can be vice principal, or about 30 years old you can get your own class and then you can be a homeroom teacher. About 20 years you're just teacher. That kind of hierarchical system, hierarchical position is fixed. So that's why even if young teachers have a great ability to teach and improve students' academic performance, teacher's ability is not evaluated in the right way. Such kind of great ability is hidden in the status quo. We think it is very problematic because they work very hard. They are sometimes doing extra working hours. Those kind of extra working or such kind of work are not actually evaluated. We think it is very problematic. For all these reasons, I'm very proud to propose this motion.
Okay, I thank the Deputy Prime Minister for his speech. Next, I'd like to call upon the Deputy Leaders to continue their case within 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we believe teachers should teach all people equally. So we strongly oppose this motion. Firstly, I will review what previous speaker said. They say they compare to company. However, actually that's not true because firstly, the public school is managed by the tax. So this is so the law of public school is totally different from private company, private school. So we use the tax to manage the company. So their point doesn't stand. And moreover, they're talking about they have no incentive to change education. How? Because of one not changeable curriculum. However, actually, curriculum is always changed by the government. And moreover, actually, as I said in POI, the teacher is very hard job. However, many people want to become teachers because such people have big incentive to teach students. For example, Andrew or something. So actually, so they have big motivation. So they have incentive to change and to teach or grow up the students' ability. So their point doesn't stand. And moreover, they are talking about our points as extend is a measure. However, actually, the potential to improvement is different. Depends on student. So actually, one inferior student have potential to improve. Potential to be improved. However, other inferior students have no potential to study. So result of comparison of efficiency. So teacher discriminate such inferior who have no potential to improve, to grow up. So teacher neglect such student because the efficiency is necessary to get high salary. So and secondly, they are talking about history or subjective. Some subjective is very clear measure. However, physical is out of target because of the physical ability. It cannot be changed. However, so that's true. This is true. However, actually, such study skills ability is dependent on children's talent too. So their points totally irrelevant. Moreover, and so let me move on our second argument. Second argument is subjects are distorted. So So after taking a proposal, individuality will be distorted. So many kinds of children exist. So some people are good at sports, some people are good at arts, and other students are good at studying. So at the status quo, teachers have incentive to grow up individual talents because it is their role, and this is motivation to work as teacher. This is a hard job. So for example, teacher don't give so for example, teacher don't give unnecessary burden to student who is poor at math but good at baseball because they have incentive to make such children to concentrate baseball or something. So even if standard study skill is poor, that does not matter because if they can become professional sport player or professional artist, they can live. Even though he have very poor math skill or Japanese skill or something. So this is no problem. And moreover, teacher have under status quo, teachers have incentive to teach all subjects equally, and nothing distorts their motivation to teach all subjects. So students get many kinds of knowledge. For example, music, sports, or poem, or something. So they give such subjects give students interest or the opportunity to think about their life. So students get standard level knowledge. So however, after taking this proposal, teachers have bigger incentive to grow up only study test skills and talents, because the result, only this result connect to their salary directly. So salary is based on their life. So they have big incentive. Other results are ignored. So students who don't have big ability, so students cannot get most suitable education for this student if they want. So this is very problematic because such student is inferior, and such student is poor potential, poor talent to grow up their ability, the study ability, and moreover, they cannot get standard such sports or art or poetic opportunities. So this is very problematic. So we strongly oppose this motion.
Okay, I thank the Deputy Leader for the speech, and next I'd like to call upon the Government Works Committee Leader, please, within 7 minutes. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hello, everyone in this house today. Today, Mr. reviews that in order to improve teachers' motivation, this plan is necessary for teacher. Therefore, we are very proud to propose this motion today. So, as a whip speaker, I have three issues. Firstly, under the status quo, teachers' motivation is now or not. And secondly, after taking this proposal, how teachers incentive change and how teachers' way of teach or change after taking this proposal. And thirdly, why this motion is so important. So let me explain one by one. But before that, I'd like to refer to what the previous speaker has said. So today, the previous speaker says that after taking this proposal, teacher ignored students' other skill, sports, music, and so on. Therefore, however, it is not true because please imagine that is like children and teacher. Teachers always think about the children and so on. Therefore, even after taking this plan is not decrying the skills of students, the other skills. Therefore, teacher want to improve not only the academic level. The teacher improve both skills. Want to improve both skills of the student. Therefore, Therefore, after taking this proposal, is okay. So having repeated, I'd like to explain our argument. So firstly, understand about the status quo. So under status quo, my partner already explained teachers' incentive is very low. So because teachers' job is a very steady job, and they don't have a risk of the fired and so on. Therefore, teachers' incentive is very low about the teaching academic skills because they even if they try to improve their students' academic skills, they can't more money to buy the skills. Therefore, they can't. Therefore, teachers' incentive is very low. So today, operations I say that teachers' incentive is enough. Because they have a big incentive to improve their children. However, it is not true because even if they have a big incentive they can't keep their incentive because gradually because even if they try to improve their skills even if they neglect their job, they don't have a risk to fire, and they don't have a chance to improve their get more money and so on. Therefore, they gradually decline their incentive. Therefore, other status quo's incentive is not enough. Secondly, I'd like to explain after taking this proposal how teachers' motivation change. So today we strongly believe that after taking this proposal, we can change a teacher's incentive because salary is a very important thing. My partner already says that by salary they can buy a commodity and so on. Therefore, they can make their life better by getting a commodity and spend the money for the children and so on. Therefore, by getting more salary, they can get a more incentive to improve their children. Therefore, teacher get an incentive. So therefore, teacher change the way of teaching and making an original scope for a student and so on. Therefore, therefore, teacher try to find the way of effective way for the children. Therefore, after taking this proposal, education improved. And thirdly, why this plan is so important? Because today we strongly believe that education is a very important thing for the student, because education is make a base of life and base of society. Because, for example, they try to get a job. We try to get a job. Academic skills is become a sometimes become a criteria. For example, communication skills of the English and they have a knowledge of science and so on. Therefore, education is very important thing for the student. Therefore, this program is so important for the students. Therefore, we are very proud to propose. Thank you.
Okay, I thank the government for the speech, and next let's call on the opposition group to continue their case within 7 minutes here.
So we think that status quo teacher are already doing his effort. But what happened after taking this proposal? Because we're going to plus the monetary incentive, it's going to create huge gap between the student and between the subjects. That is why we want to oppose this motion. I have 3 questions here. Firstly, do we have problem in status quo? And secondly, the impact to the student, and thirdly, the issue of teacher. So let's look one by one. So firstly, do we have problem in status quo or not? What we have from their side was that, well, there are 2 problems. Firstly, the teacher has no incentive, and secondly, there are structural problems. Firstly, they said because the teacher is kind of steady job, teacher has no incentive. We have, well, 2 responses. Firstly, it would not be changed even after taking this proposal, right? Because they never ever told us how they are going to fire a stupid teacher. And secondly, they are talking about very generic analysis of public officer. We have police or the politician, all other things are steady job, but we don't think all of them are so steady. What we told you status quo is enough because we criticize from the PTA. Of course, if the class is so boring, then teacher gonna be criticized by the student or parents or principal. That is why, and moreover, because teacher have nature to love the student, that is why they become teacher in the first place. Right? We think that teacher incentive is enough in the first place. The secondly, about the structure problem, they said that where young teacher cannot become the principal. In the first place, we never ever had why younger teachers should be in the principal in the first place. That is why they failed to show the necessity. Moreover, if that problem is so structurally root cause, then just providing, giving money, how they are going to change those structure schools? We never ever had any response from their side. That is why we think on this criteria, we never had any problem of status quo. We never had any necessity to take this motion. Secondly, the impact to the student. Well, what we have from their side was that academic skills are going to improve because the teacher wanted to buy a car. In the first place, if you have so fantastic solution to improve the student's ability, then we think those teachers already tried it even in our program, because if they try to do so, then they can improve the academic skills, they can get reputation. Right? So that is why their problem was that why status quo, even though those teachers already doing effort, why suddenly those academic academic revolution would be happen? We never had any responses from their side. So what we showed you the 2 harms created by this motion. Firstly, the gap between the student, and secondly, the gap between the subject. Firstly, because what teacher have to do in their program is that they only have to improve the average of the academic skill. That is why they're going to abandon the inferior student and just concentrate on improving the average. The responses coming from their side was that no, it would not be happen because also inferior students' score would be reflected. They show the example like if there is a student who got 50 score, then if teacher can improve 90 score, then teacher can get a huge salary. We think this example is so so unrealistic, right? Because we think we're talking about extremely inferior students. It is very hard to improve the score in the first place because we're talking about the student, for example, who got E- in the score. However, in our program, because teachers are free from the monetary incentive, free from the monetary pressure. Teachers have the incentive to care about those inferior students and try to improve those students to go to E+. However, in their product, it would not be happen because to improve those inferior students is very difficult in the first place, because if student has E-, the student has no knowledge, no ability, so it is very difficult. So what's going to happen in their product is that teachers are going to improve the students, such as having C- to improve the C+, because it is much more easier to improve C- student to C+, because C- students know about have the knowledge, know about the subject at some extent. That is why in their product, if there is so inferior student, teacher has no incentive to care about them, because what they have to care is just only average score. Secondly, we told you that the gap between subjects will be happen because what the teacher have to do is only teach about math or science. That is why teachers are going to lose the incentive to teach music or art. The responses coming from the government reports are no, teachers are considering about the students. They are going to teach all subjects. We have two responses. Firstly, it is status quo. If their analysis of teacher is true, if teacher care about the student, then we don't have any problem in the status quo. Secondly, we think their characterization is contradicting because on the one side they said that the teacher want money so much and they are going to improve and do anything. If that is true, if teachers want money so much, then why they have the incentive to teach music, which does not improve their salary in the first place? Right? We think their characterization is contradicting. Let me show you the example. If there is a student who is not good at academic skill but good at music, those students are going to get harmed from their parents from this motion. Why? Because he is not good at the academic skills, and teacher has no ability to teach and do bottom up of this student, because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, right? And moreover, because teacher would have less incentive to teach about music, those students cannot get qualified musical education. That is why at the end of the day, those music talented students would end up with less education, with less music class. We think that is a problem, because at the end of the day, those students have nothing. But look at the issue of teacher. We heard from their side that teacher is same as a company, right? Because that is why they should have evaluate. We know that this is not true, because the academic skill is not guaranteed only by the teacher's ability, but also it is going to reflect a huge factor such as student motivation, student how the way parents taught them, the student ability, or whether student can go to grammar school or not. We don't think that the teacher can be responsible for all those factors. That is why for all these three criteria, we're very proud of both. Thanks.
Okay, I thank the opposition whip, and next I'd like to call upon the opposition reply speaker to deliver a 4-minute reply. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen, in this House day. So, Mr. Speaker, just they said, in music, in physical subject or sources, that there's gap or potential exists. So some children are good at their music, but some children good at the physical sources. But in same logic, the amount of potential or gap exists in the ordinal subject, such as the math or Japanese or English or sources. Well, teachers will more and more concentrate on stage the superior students who have more potential or sources, and also inferior students will be marginalized by educational field. This is a problem, as we clearly told you. So we beg to oppose. Okay, moving on our classes. Firstly, we have two classes to examine. Firstly, under the status quo, the gap of motivation among the teachers exists or not. And secondly, I'd like to talk about after election, the gap of so the discrimination of the educational field will appear or not. So let me examine one by one. So when their argument is this: the gap of motivation among the teachers exists because of no existence of competition between the teachers. But this is not true. Several rebuttals we have. So, as we said, the teachers feel the pleasure about improving their academic skill of the student itself because the nature of teachers usually love the children and also love the children. So they have already have an incentive to take care of those children. And also, we said that there's also different from such the stable job, the police or private or so forth. The teachers have competition at this point because other hot issue in the society, the problem of monster parent is. So they likely to rush to the house and complain about their academic or behavior in teacher in school or so forth, and they likely to call them in the midnight or so forth. So in order to avoid such kind of the horrible situation, teachers have incentive to take care about the entire class. So in the status quo, the problem does not exist. Okay, moving on, second issue. So as we clearly consistently told you, the gap of amount of potential exists. So because inferior students have less potential to effectively improve their academic skill. On the contrary, the superior students have more capacity to do so. And also, that's why teachers will concentrate on teach the superior student. It's because it's easier to improve their academic skill rather than improving their inferior students their academic skill. So if a lot of extreme superior students suddenly appear in the class, their average academic skill will drastically increase. That's why their income will also increase. So teachers have more incentive to care about such kind of things. Unfortunately, no engagement of this task, so we should win this debate. So we beg to oppose. Thank you.
Okay, I thank the opposition reply speaker, and to conclude this round, I call upon the government reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hello, ladies and gentlemen in this house again. And so, as a reply, I would like to talk about whether the status quo problem and how after plan was changed. And so let me just move on. So, firstly, about the status quo, is there a problem? And as the both sides has conceded, education is important, right? Because they've also talked about problems like marginalized, people the inferior students and so forth. And so we say the education, if there is gap in education, or if there is people not catching up or people who is bored, that's a problem, and that's the consensus. And we say under status quo there is this kind of problem because as we've been consistently telling you, the teachers are not incentivized because of the steady job or because of the structure. And what we are saying is that because of this kind of stuff, there is no award for the teachers even if they are doing so hard job. And that is why teachers would steadily lose incentive to make students learn and so forth. And that is why we are going to introduce this progressive salary in order to make, in order to award, because we cannot like change this structure or like this steadiness. But by introducing our motion, we can award teachers and we can change the situation, and that's the important point of this our proposal. And also about the teachers figure, they told us about every teacher feels pressure in teaching. Every teacher loves students and so forth. But that's not true, right? As we've been telling you from our deputy has told you, there's the range, the people who feel pressure, and our target of people who care about people who feel pressure would also be incentivized, but there are people who care about money, right? As we've been telling you, and if they go the people who are feeling pressure is not the target, as we've told you, because why would they after the plan just not teach because of the money? If they feel so much pressure as they told you, as they said. And even if that's so, we've told you that award is important, and we see no problem in awarding these good teachers. And another problem about teachers who be motivated by money, who care more about money is important. And let me move on to the after the plan. And so we say it's very, very important to get teachers motivated by money because of the money, they can they will do creative classes and so forth, as we illustrated, and that's very important for the students to get motivation for studying. And they talked about neglecting the lower inferior students, but we've told you that's unlikely, right? Because for inferior students, there's much more space for the improvement from 10% to if they are getting 10% under the status quo, there's 90% of improvement possible. And if teachers do not try, they will not know that. And they talked about skill or something, but that's already chosen by curriculum. We have to teach music, right? As we've told you, and so there's no problem of these things as we've told you, and so that is why we propose. Thank you.
May I kindly congratulate reply speaker, and all speeches are over. Thank you for your cooperation.
お疲れ様でした。